Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Framingham. We are a Unitarian-Universalist congregation, which means no matter who you love, how you move around in the world, your race, your age, your gender identity, your gender, your beliefs, no matter where you are on life's journey, you, yes, you, are welcome here. I'm Rupal Bhatt. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your worship associate this morning. Please be sure to read the announcements in the order of service, and also be sure to put your phones and other devices that might make noise to their quietest settings. While beeps and buzzes can be distracting, we welcome your human noises, especially your laughter and your singing. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. It takes a lot of courage to try out a new religious community. We look forward to getting to know you better. If this is the religious community you call your own, welcome home. Let us release all that we need to let go of in order to be more fully present to yourself, to one another, and perhaps the sacred in this time and place. A flame within a chalice is the primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalism. Eric Hepburn writes these words for our chalice lighting. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains.
And I am the Reverend Stockwell Wisman. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I serve as your senior minister. December marks a season of waiting called Advent. During each Sunday in December, we light candles and offer a brief reflection on this day. Additionally, while we sing the usual words of the sung affirmation, we sing them in December to a different tune. It's not to make you all confused. It's to just add a different tune to our memories and perhaps also to call us to notice those words a little bit more. Today, Dean will be playing that tune on the organ so you can hear it a little bit better. On the third Sunday of Advent, we wear pink. Some of us do. So called from the first word of the introit at some masses, gaudite, rejoice. So today we light 2 purple candles and a rose candle. We light this candle for messengers, preparing the way for change, signs pointing to a new age to come. Won't you say with me a simple response, give light, give hope. Give light, give hope. And now let us rise in body or spirit, both work just fine, to sing our opening hymn, number 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. The tune is the Sussex Carol, a familiar Christmas carol to some.
I seek the spirit of a child, the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive
Please remain standing to sing and say our words of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. You may be seated.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lauren Strauss, the Director of Religious Exploration here at First Parish, and I use she, her pronouns. And I say with you all, good morning and welcome to church. Sometimes the world is big and dark and scary. We see things happening that are wrong or unjust or inequitable. We are a people centered in love. Love calls us to a path of justice. People get hurt by rules that are unfair, like having to go to the bathroom in a room that doesn't match who they are, or having to use words to describe themselves that don't fit, or not being able to access health care for their own bodies, not being able to marry the person that they love, being discriminated against because of the color of their skin, or their religion, or the language that they speak at home. We ask one another, what is love calling us to do? Sometimes frightened people make rules because they don't understand. But those rules and laws and policies are still unjust and unfair. Knowing that laws and policies and rules are unjust and unfair doesn't always mean that we know what to do about them. So we ask ourselves, what does love want me to do? When we see headlines that tell us about all the ways the world is turning away from love, when it all feels huge, when it feels like too much, we might wonder, what can one person or one congregation do to make a difference? It's easy to look all the way to the finish line and see the world we want, one where people are allowed to be who they are and love who they want and practice their religious and cultural traditions, and where the color of your skin isn't an automatic disadvantage to your future. But seeing how to get there is a whole different story. The problem is giant, and we are small. But what if we just thought about the next right thing? If we allow love and our values to be our compass, pointing us toward the big problems, but we just took one tiny step on the road. One step isn't so hard. We are blessed in this congregation with people of all ages, from elementary school all the way up to elders, who have trusted us here with their true selves by saying, this is who I am, and I know that everyone here wants to love those folks the way they want to be loved, even when we're still on the path to true understanding. One of the things that our children feel love calls them to is wearing pronoun buttons. so that everyone can remember one another's pronouns. They think it's so important that they've been making them during classes this year. Our value of transformation reminds us all that to adapt to the changing world, never complete and never perfect, is sacred work. Putting on a pronoun button, like I did, is one step that you can take. And it is centered in love for people we know who are here in the room with us. And perhaps it will lead to the next step that we take tomorrow or next week that we don't even know what it is yet. Because we don't have to know the whole road to take the first step. As long as each step leads toward justice, we know we are on the right road. And now we will sing our children, teachers, and parents, and anyone else who feels like coming to religious exploration classes. Thank you.
Of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
We are a people of great joy and deep sorrow. So now we share the things which weigh deepest on our hearts. In between the sharing of sorrows and joys, we will sing, "Comfort Me." We sing this so the things which are deepest and heaviest on our hearts can be held in song, but also so you might have a resource for when you need it the most. You can submit your joys or sorrows online or in the book at the back of the sanctuary. These are the sorrows of our congregation. I share this sorrow from myself. Saturday marked the 12th anniversary of the Newtown shootings. May we remember those 26 people, 20 children, 6 teachers, faculty, and administrators who died, and may we work to end violence everywhere it exists. Let us now sing the first verse, "Comfort Me."
Comfort me, comfort me, O my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul.
And Carol and Bob Boyce share this joy. They are glad that one son will be home with us for the holiday. Let us now sing, "Sing with Me."
With me, sing with me, sing with me, O my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, O my soul.
And we light one final candle for all of the joys and all of the sorrows which remain too great to share this day. Let us now sing a final verse. The lyric is, "Speak for me."
Speak for me, speak for me. Speak
The words for our time for contemplation come from Reverend Linda Hart. In the quiet of these moments, let us take a common breath, unclench, and open to each other and the Holy One we call by many names. We arrive in these moments bearing the whole of our lives. We bring with us the worries and troubles of our days, sometimes overwhelming, loss beyond words, pain and struggle known only in the deepest place in our hearts. Here in the quiet, joined with each other, may we release our hearts from them, find a moment of peace. We come to these moments with the freshness of love, the grace of small treasures, with hope and faith, knowing well the promise of the dawning day, even in the longest of nights. Here, in the quiet, may we lift up our hearts in gratitude for the gifts of our lives, pausing in thanksgiving. It is written that to everything there is a season, and in our hearts we know that it is true. As the earth spirals towards the solstice, let us open to the blessed darkness, praising renewal that comes as the light slowly returns.
And so now let us sit in the quiet of this house and this gathering so that we might respond to the stirrings of our hearts, so that we might listen, or so that we might simply do absolutely nothing for the next minute. In a world where you have many jobs and many tasks, this is your only task for the next minute, to do absolutely nothing. I'll keep track of the time. Though this moment of quiet was brief, may we be comforted by the fact that we can return to it any time we need to center ourselves, to reflect, or rest. Once a month, we share the gifts that we have been given with a local or locally connected nonprofit organization. This month, I invite Rebecca Center to share about the work of her organization.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Rebecca Center, she, her pronouns. I'm the director and founder of the nonprofit Under the Same Moon. Many of you know my daughter Maria, who joined our family through adoption from Guatemala, which explains my connection to Guatemala. Under the Same Moon supports a secular school called Bendición de Dios in Guatemala which support children from families with very limited resources who cannot afford to send the children to public school. Public school costs about $250 at least a year because nothing is free. You have to pay for your materials, your uniforms, your books, any special projects. And the families that we work with at the school in Guatemala probably make about $2 to $5 a day, perhaps. So under the same moon, probably officially, we've been about 12 years. Unofficially, I did it about 5 or 6 years before that, and we've donated close to $900,000 over the years. We now donate $80,000 a year, which is a third of their budget, which is pre-K through 9th grade right now. We now have many sponsors and supporters across the country, many who have visited the school. Several people from this congregation are sponsoring students and also have visited the school in person. So you either can sponsor a child at the school, develop a relationship, purchase goods at our handicraft sale, make a donation, or today, Share the Plate is going toward energy-efficient stoves. So the majority of the families who have not received a stove yet cook over an open fire, which creates 3 problems. One, they're not ventilated, so they're doing this inside the house, so the children and the moms can get respiratory illness. They're hot to the touch, and a child can fall into them. And they use a lot of firewood, which is both expensive, and Guatemala has a problem with deforestation. So many years ago, doctors saw this problem, and they developed this energy-efficient stove. The ones that we use cost about $170. They are about the size of a card table and are portable. They are cool to the touch on the outside. They're ventilated through the roof. They use about 3 sticks of firewood a day. The organization that we use also provides training, helps with installation. I've actually been to one of the trainings. And if the family moves, they can pack up the stove and take it with them. Over the years, I calculate that First Parish has probably donated over 100 stoves. I am adjusting. I just came back from my longest stay ever in Guatemala, 4 months, probably over the last year. I've been there about 7 months. The weather is a little bit more agreeable there. But it is a pleasure to be back, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in Scott Hall. Thank you.
An Entrance by Melina Morling. If you want to give thanks, but this time not to the labyrinth of cause and effect, give thanks to the plain sweetness of the day, when it's as if everywhere you turn there is an entrance, when it's as if even the air is a door, and your child is a door, afloat on invisible hinges. The world is a house, he says, over lunch, as if to give you a clue. And before the words dissolve above his plate of eggs and rice, you suddenly see how we are in it, how everywhere the air is holding hands with the air, how everyone is connected to everyone else by breathing.
Well, let's hear that poem again. An Entrance by Melina Morling. If you want to give thanks, but this time not to the labyrinth of cause and effect, give thanks to the plain sweetness of the day. When it's as if everywhere you turn, there is an entrance. When it's as if even the air is a door. And your child is a door afloat on invisible hinges. The world is a house, he says over lunch, as if to give you a clue. And before the words dissolve, above his plate of eggs and rice, you suddenly see how we are in it, how everywhere the air is holding hands with the air, how everyone is connected to everyone else by breathing. Depending on who you talk to, or maybe how you are feeling in a particular year, Advent is either the tractor beam that pulls you towards the Christmas season, or it is the buffer that protects you from the Christmas season. And I think it is a very ignored season of the liturgical calendar by people who are Christian, or at least the ones that seem to proclaim that they are Christian the loudest. If celebrated right, I believe that it helps us resist the commercialism of a capitalist Christmas, truly helping to leave Christ in Christmas. You have likely seen those signs around town. Every year as the seasons change and I enter into a grocery store or the mall, I am always shocked by what I have determined to call seasonal creep. I will usually snap a picture of it and send it to the family group chat. September 15th, the Christmas trees are available at Home Depot. You know that, right, Dave? November 1st, they are selling eggnog. The jack-o'-lanterns have not even rotted yet. December 26th, it's Valentine's Day. The candy has arrived, and I have not even ended the last Hallmark Christmas movie. You get the picture. Or maybe you are not even Christian, and you wish that there was some balance against Christmas, your beautiful holidays of Diwali, or Hanukkah, or the winter solstice, these beautiful festivals of light on their own, needed especially when we here in the Northern Hemisphere need the light the most. These festivals seem ignored when the days are the darkest, a season which is beautiful. For the darkness of the womb is where we all come from. Darkness is beautiful, for we are weary and in need of rest. Not that I need any excuse to get cozy with a blanket or a good book or a rom-com, a cup of hot cocoa or tea, but this season of darkness encourages that. The darkness isn't something to get rid of. It's something to appreciate. Advent at its core is a season of waiting, not actually a season of peace, love, hope, or joy. While traditionally some assign these values to our candles, especially if you grew up in a Christian denomination, scholar of Christian worship practices Mary Ludy explains that this is actually an invention of church supply companies. She writes, in the mid-20th century, the church supply companies decided we needed to have themes for Advent wreath candle lighting ceremonies, and thus they could sell us more colored candles and bulletin covers. At the time, a one-year lectionary was in use, and the 4 themes, peace, love, hope, and joy, were the themes that they chose for us. Reverend Mary Ludy writes in parentheses, yikes. These roughly corresponded to the text of each week, but not anymore. Our Christian siblings and cousins often use a 3-year cycle. And as a result, many feel pressure to twist or shoehorn the text into the theme, or better said, overlay the text with the theme, or you feel you need to abandon the lectionary text altogether. Thus, theme has triumphed over text. And for us, without the 3-year cycle, we wonder, how do we take those on? Do we have to take those themes on at all? I suggest instead we turn to waiting. There is wisdom in waiting, even if it is tough. I have become curious over the years how humans make decisions, the big ones, not what kind of coffee you're going to have or how you prefer your eggs, but the big ones, and what the feelings are when we have made a decision. What does discernment look like? A decision that can seem sudden, we know, has actually taken the decider a long, long time to embrace. When I was in seminary, I worked in the admissions office there, and I got to interact with people who had discerned that ministry was the next right thing for them, or were in the process of deciding that, and that academic study was necessary, and that perhaps for them a program at Andover Newton was the next right step for them. It was an honor to work with those students, which is what you had to view it as a ministry of mutual discernment. Otherwise, the tracking down of paperwork for their files and reading essays of applicants explaining their call story could feel tedious and an awful lot like work. But if you chose to view it as ministry, it was holy work. And now, years after I've left this position, I have begun to appreciate that the moment to apply took a single second, but it was also a years-long decision. Discernment is something that can never be rushed. But once the decision is made, it feels like a horse fleeing the stable, to quote the poet Yahia Lababidi from his poem Dawning. It can feel sudden. At one chapel service early on, I remember the preacher, the Reverend Dr. Nancy Taylor, the former now senior minister of Old South Church in Boston, describing the process of telling people that you wanted to be a minister was like a coming out process for folks who might be gay or transgender. Sitting your parents down and saying, "Mom and Dad, I know you thought you knew who I was. Maybe you thought that I was going to become a banker or a lawyer. I know you thought you knew me, but in fact, I want to be a minister." There are likely other forms of discernment like this, but that's the one that I have been the closest to. When discernment is long, it becomes a source of strength. even if it took years to decide how to do something or that you were going to do something. We gain wisdom by studying so much. We learn new dance moves. We can survey the landscape. There is wisdom to be gained in waiting. We are not just changed by the decision that we make, though it may change us. Rather, we are also changed by the process itself. Discernment, I think, is kind of what Melina Morling meant when she wrote, if you want to give thanks, but this time not to the labyrinth of cause and effect, give thanks to the plain sweetness of a day. It is something more than cause and effect, this discernment is. Discernment is then also finding wisdom in the journey. Morling says, everywhere you turn, there is an entrance, when it's as if even the air is a door. I've been using that word a lot, discernment. What does it mean? In my more cynical moments, especially early on in seminary, I just thought it meant sitting around and waiting until a decision could be made or was made for you. And yeah, that's sometimes what it appears to be. But discernment seems to be the opposite of the quick fix and decision making. It is more methodical. It is about listening to other voices, the voice of your own heart, perhaps the voice of God or Spirit speaking to you, if that is what your theology is like. It is divine decision making. John Cassian in the 4th century asked these questions to help in discernment. Is it filled with good for all? Is it heavy with the fear of God? Is it genuine in the feelings which underlie it? Is it lightweight because of human show or because of some thrust toward novelty? Has the burden of vain glory lessened its merit or diminished its luster? Another John Climacus, 2 centuries later, said this: from humility comes discernment, from discernment comes insight, and from insight comes foresight. And who would not run this fine race of obedience with such blessings are there ahead of them? Climacus also writes, for beginners it is self-understanding, for intermediates the spiritual capacity to distinguish the good from what is opposed to it. For the advanced it is direct God-given light, which affects people from and the world around them. For us Unitarian Universalists, perhaps these words can feel a little foreign. How do we find an entry point into them? UU religious professionals Meck Groot and Joe Sullivan explain discernment like this. Discernment is a faith practice rooted in an awareness that when individuals may not have answers, there is wisdom within and among us that we may tap into if we get quiet enough and listen for it together. It is what we do when we wonder together. Sullivan and Groot go on to say that group discernment also requires that we release attachment to particular outcomes. We don't come with an agenda and we don't push for one. We trust deeply that all others have also released their agendas and come wholly open. For most of us, that means doing some deep inner work. Group discernment takes willingness to be changed, a huge challenge for those of us who are programmed to seek control, yet also a fundamental purpose for a faith-based life, seeking alignment with vision and values. This is, I believe, about figuring out the next most elegant step, or as Lauren and the film Frozen 2, I think it is, the next right thing. The next most elegant step when we are called to be courageous. This is not about solving the whole equation, just figuring out what you need next. Adrienne Marie Brown, my longtime favorite strategist, calls it the next most elegant step. She writes, Gibran Rivera once articulated a question to me: what is the next most elegant step? Brown says, I love this question and use it to shape conversations all the time. Too often, we come up with plans that don't take into account the fog on the horizon. Then we go off and the work doesn't happen, perhaps can't happen, and then we feel demoralized when our energy doesn't flow into outcomes or desired actions. Brown continues on to say, an elegant step is one that acknowledges what is known and unknown, and what the capacity of this group here is. She'll sometimes say, there is a conversation in this room that can only happen with the people in this room. An elegant step allows humility, allows people to say, actually, we need to do a little bit more research. Actually, we need to talk to some folks outside of the room. Or actually, we need a full day to build this plan out into something realistic and attainable. In any conversation, and Brown says, I would say in any moment of life, there is a next elegant step. One that is possible and strategically based on who is taking it and where they are trying to go. Find it, and you cannot fail. And sometimes when we find that we are being called to courage, we freeze. Action is called for, not frozenness. We have ice cubes and the winter weather to help us with that. The people who need our help, the people who call us allies and friends, likely love us. They expect imperfection because that is what you can expect from someone who loves you and that you love. Action and imperfection is so much more useful than waiting for perfection and the inaction that comes from it. And other times we pause and we freeze, not just because we want to make sure that we're getting it right, but because we are not sure that an action will be large enough. Enough small actions add up to big actions. Justice is made by the prophets, but it's also made by the everyday people, doing what they have discerned is called for in a moment. There are more everyday people than there are prophets, but maybe the everyday people are, in fact, prophets. My friends gathered here, there is wisdom in waiting in a world that seems addicted to the quick fix and the easy solution. We gain much by being methodical. The journey is our strength. In this season of Advent and in the warmth of the dark night, may we find courage and strength. And when it is called for, may that move us to action. May it be so, and amen. So now let us rise in body or spirit to sing, O come, Emmanuel. It's number 225 in the gray hymnal.
Exiles, give the our spirits by your presence here, and on in every broken soul, as vision that see the whole. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as light to dwell. Oh, come, you wisdom from on high, gifts that head within aside, to temper knowledge with our care, to render every act a prayer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come with love to dwell.
Please remember that if you find this season a little tender, a little grief-filled, a little complex, filled with isolation and stress, please do remember that in this space today at 6 p.m. will be a Blue Holidays Vesper service. It is here for you if you need it this year, and likely here for you next year should you find yourself needing it next year. So I send you forth with these words of benediction. Let us take the light of love out into the world and use it to brighten our pathways. And when we need to rest or recharge, be challenged or affirmed, may that light guide us safely back. May we hold the light always, and the light hold us always. Amen, and go in peace.